Training camp preseason is getting closer and closer day by day, week by week, and I want to bring you my early top 15 running back rankings for the 2023 season. Just to let you know, this is fluid. Things can change when news anything breaks out. You just never know, so just keep that in mind. These are early rankings, but I'm bringing you my top 15, so make sure you comment down below. Let me know what your top 15 running back rankings are as of now. And as always, go to flockfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. Not only do you get our articles, our rankings, and our bonus content, you get so much more, not only from us, but all the content creators on the site. So once again, flockfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. And let's get straight into the video. Okay, so before we get into my rankings, I want to bring you 3 honorable mentions really fast, really quick. I really wanted to bring these guys in my top 15, but I think there's a lot of question marks, a lot of concerns with these guys, in my opinion, and I'm not necessarily sure where to truly put them, if I feel comfortable putting them in my top 15 as of now. So number 1 is Aaron Jones. As much as I love Aaron Jones, he's been a top guy this past year. Obviously, he finished RB9, but I think a lot of things is going to change. My narrative in my mind and the way I kind of see things panning out is that, yes, Aaron Jones has been successful, as we saw, like I said, RB9. But now with Aaron Rodgers no longer on the team, I truly believe he was the one that was keeping, Aaron Jones on the field, and that was giving a lot of the opportunities. Now with him gone, I do see a pathway for AJ Dillon coming in. What does that look like? I'm not necessarily sure, but it's not a top 15 worthy for me right now. But once again, this could change. Kenneth Walker is my next guy here with Zach Charbonnet. As much as I love Kenneth Walker, and I truly believe he could be this guy, when is Zach Charbonnet really going to take over his workload? I do easily see him as a top 12 guy without Zach Charbonnet on this team, but with Zach Charbonnet on this team, I just don't know where to put him at the moment. And then my last guy is Breece Hall. No doubt in my mind, Breece Hall can be a top 5, top 8 running back coming into this season if he plays every single game. And with the ACL tears, we all know it's easier said than done. It's not necessarily the physical hurdle, but the next hurdle is the mental hurdle. And can he get past that sooner rather than later? So these 3 guys, once again, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, and Breece Hall, my top 3 honorable mentions. Let me know where you guys think and where you feel comfortable taking those 3 guys. So let's get to my number 15 running back in my rankings, and that is Najee Harris right now. Just a reminder of what he did last year. Finished his RB14, over 272 attempts, over 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And one of the reasons why he's my RB15 right now is because I really believe in this offense. The Steelers, what do they do in the first round of their draft? They go out and draft an offensive lineman, a position where they struggled all year long this past year. They draft Broderick Jones, arguably one of the best tackles in this draft, and they get him and they solidify this offensive line. Not only with that, but also with Kenny Pickett as well. Kenny Pickett coming into his 2nd year, I truly believe he can really change this offense and bring this offense to more a high scoring type of offense. And obviously Najee Harris can get the toke the ball on the ground and in the air, so we'll definitely see a little bit more of an uptick in the passing game this year as well, with a better offensive line, another year with Kenny Pickett, and so much more. So Najee Harris, my RB15. My next running back on the list, RB14, J.K. Dobbins, bobbing like I'm Dobbins, 2-leg Dobbins coming into the 2023 season. And look, obviously Dobbins was up and down all last season with that injury, but when he came back in the second half of the season, we saw promise, even while he looked like he was running with one leg, averaging over 11 fantasy points per game, 14 attempts on the ground, and nearly 100 yards on the ground as well. J.K. Dobbins is going to be seeing a lot of opportunity on the ground, and I would personally say in the air as well. With the new offensive coordinator in Todd Monken's here, we all know how he operates with the running backs in Georgia and how we saw a nice little cycle. J.K. Dobbins is a lead running back here, and I don't see too much competition in that backfield here. So J.K. Dobbins, my RB14 coming into 2023. My RB13 coming into this year is a rookie, and that is Jahmyr Gibbs. Look, Jahmyr Gibbs is somebody that I'm really excited for, and one of the reasons why he's in my top 15 is purely based on the pass catching opportunities, right? When you look at that offense, we look at this team, they need help. Obviously, the first six games, Jameson Williams is going to be missing. Stan Laporta is a rookie tight end. Yes, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You traded for Denzel Mims, but they're going to need to get somebody acclimated into the passing game quickly and fast, right? And there's already reports saying that he is going to be somebody that is that could be lined up on the outside, that can be lined up in the slot. They're going to be creating new opportunities for the running back position, and I won't be surprised if Jahmyr Gibbs is that person. My RB13, and one cool fact that I did find, since 2012, every single running back that has been taken in the top 12 has finished in the top 11 their rookie year in fantasy finishes. So meaning I could have 2 rookies in my top 15 coming in. So Jahmyr Gibbs, my RB13 coming into the 2023 season. My RB12 coming into the 2023 season, that is Travis Etienne. Now, it may not be as high as everyone else, because I do have a little bit of concern, but I still have my top 15, which I think is pretty generous. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe for me. Travis Etienne, over 220 attempts, 1,100 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns. And look, he did have a decent amount of workload in the air this past year. Caught 35 receptions out of 45 targets. It's not bad, and I do see that continuing, but I'm not a believer of Travis Etienne or Tank Bigsby, coming in and taking a 50% workload. I see him coming in and taking about a 30% workload. Now, can he come in and grow and take more opportunity away from Etienne in other areas like the touchdown opportunities? Tank Bigsby is also a decent pass catching back. He's not just a bulldozer guy in between the tackles type of running back. I do see a pathway where Tank Bigsby does take opportunity away from Etienne, but not enough to get him outside of my top 15 or even my top 12. Travis Etienne is easily going to be a PPR monster, and we only saw him a partial part of him being unlocked, but I do know Doug Peterson likes to have a rotation of running backs. I do see Travis Etienne being a top 15 guy coming into this year, and this is why he is my top 12 running back. My running back 11 is somebody that I really want to put even higher. That is Joe Moneybag Mixon as my number 11. And this past year, look, Joe finished as the RB10, over 210 attempts, 826 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns. But here's the kicker: 60 receptions for 60 out of 75 receptions for 444 yards. Joe Mixon was up there with some of these running backs, and he was second in attempts in the red zone when you look at running backs usage. 28 attempts in the red zone from the 10-yard line, right? Within the 5-yard line, he was 4th with 17 attempts. Joe Mixon, he is a touchdown machine. He's going to be getting touchdown. He's going to continue to get the work in the goal line, especially with the high-powered offense with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, etc. And this team is only going to get better. I don't see this team taking a step back and scoring opportunities, especially in the red zone. This is exactly why Joe Mixon is going to be in my top 10 and top 11, and I still want to put him higher. I just see a lot more passing opportunities with some of these other running backs in my top 10. But Joe Mixon, don't sleep on him coming into 2023. Okay, going into my top 10 running backs, starting off with Ramondre Stevenson coming in as my number 10 running back, over 210 attempts, over 1,000 yards, and 5 touchdowns this past year. What's really exciting about Ramondre Stevenson is that he caught 69 out of 88 targets. Ramondre Stevenson was up there in targets, with 4th amongst in receptions in the running back room, and he was 3rd in targets amongst the running back room. I can truly continue to see that continue. Well, I can truly see that continuing coming into this year. English is hard today. But yes, Ramondre Stevenson, I do believe, is not going to take a step back. And yes, I am a little bit worried if Dalvin does sign. But at the moment, as I'm recording this video, Dalvin is not with this team. And if that continues going into the 2023 season, Ramondre Stevenson is easily a top 10 running back in my eyes. He's not going to take any steps back here. I don't see any regression. I don't see Pierre Strong coming in and taking opportunities away from him. You guys let me know where you have Ramondre Stevenson, but for me, he is my RB10. My next running back on the list, RB9, I truly believe it can cause a lot of controversy. I think a lot of people are going to disagree in the chat, and that is Jonathan Taylor. Yes, he is my RB9. And I'm not saying Jonathan Taylor can't finish as a top 5 guy. I just don't see that happening this year. I think we're going to see a lot of regression coming into this year with a new offensive coordinator, new head coach, and a new quarterback, which is the biggest kicker here. Anthony Richardson, they drafted a top 4 pick in the NFL draft. And if you don't know who Anthony Richardson is or what type of player he is a mobile quarterback. He is a Lamar Jackson. He is a he is a mobile quarterback, right? Like, he is somebody that's going to be taking opportunities away from your running back in the goal line, in the short yardage, and just attempts on the ground as a whole. Not that Jonathan Taylor is not a pass catching back, but Anthony Richardson is not someone that's going to be targeting, in my opinion, the running back in the dump off passes. He's somebody that's going to be, you know, lobbing the ball down the field as much as he possibly can as a rookie, especially with his talented of an arm and his legs, right? So once again, Jonathan Taylor coming into a contract year as well. What does that look like? Every single year we see these running backs and these teams really taking opportunities away from running backs in a contract year. And maybe that can be said, maybe, hey, that's a bad excuse. I mean, that can be said with J.K. Dobbins. That can be said with so many other running backs, with Saquon Barkley last year, with Josh Jacobs last year, for sure. I completely agree. But with a quarterback and a new system, there's a lot of things this team wants to try, a lot of things that they want to see from Anthony Richardson. I don't think Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion, is going to be a priority of him getting, you know, 22 attempts on the ground as we've seen in the past. So as much as I love JT, he is my RB9 coming into the 2023 season. My next running back on this list is a rookie, and that is Bijan Robinson, my RB8. Coming into this year, look, Bijan Robinson is going to be met with so much opportunity. Desmond Ridder is now the quarterback. We know that the Atlanta Falcons is the top 3 team in rushing attempts this past year, and I think that's going to continue. Not only that, Bijan Robinson is a dual threat type of quarterback. He's a guy that loves to run the ball on the ground, but is also a great pass catching running back. He is the best prospect since Saquon Barkley that everyone keeps raving about, and I do believe and see him finishing as a top 8 running back coming into this season. As a little fun fact I said earlier in my Jahmyr Gibbs part of the segment, you know, since 2012, the running backs that have been taken in the top 12 has finished as an RB11 their rookie year. I definitely see that happening with both of these running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, coming into this season. We haven't seen a running back taken in the top 8, top 10 of the draft since Saquon Barkley. And the only way we see him outside of that finish, genuinely, in my opinion, is if an injury happens. And I really hope that doesn't happen, because I love Bijan Robinson. I'm going to be drafting a lot of him coming into this year. So Bijan Robinson is my RB8. My next running back on my list, number 7, that is Tony Pollard. This past year finished as RB8, over 193 attempts, over 1,000 yards on the ground with 9 touchdowns. And obviously he was getting a lot of work in the air. Ezekiel Elliott is no longer on this team, and there's no one in the depth chart here that's really is going to make me worried. Now, if they bring Zeke back, are you concerned? Absolutely not. If they bring Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, I'm not concerned. I would have a new conversation and a nice little update if Dalvin were to sign on this team, but there's no rumors or any question marks or concern of him joining this team. So right now, Tony Pollard is going to be the first, second, and third down type of workload guy coming into the 2023 season. I mean, let me remind you, weeks 10 to 16, he was an RB2 on the year, behind Josh Jacobs, ahead of Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler in that span. Tony Pollard was a league winner this past year, and if you drafted him in the later rounds, you know, 2, 3, maybe I would say 2 rounds maybe after Zeke, or so around after Zeke, you were buzzing when you got Tony Pollard. But yeah, phenomenal upside with Tony, my RB7 coming into the 2023 season. My next running back on the list, my RB6, that is Josh Jacobs. Coming into this past year, finished RB3, 340 attempts on the ground. He was the bell cow. I mean, he led the lead in yards. He was second in attempts amongst running backs behind Derrick Henry. Does that change this year? I don't think so, but I do believe there's going to be a little bit of regression. I don't see him maybe scoring as many touchdowns that he did. That's 12 touchdowns with Jimmy G now being under center. I don't see him maybe getting as many yardage or opportunities in the air this year with Jimmy G. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe whatever the case may be, but right now he's my RB6. I just think Jimmy G kind of puts him back just a little bit, in my personal opinion. But Josh Jacobs still a top running back coming into the 2023 season. Okay, getting into my top 5, my number 5 running back this year is Nick Chubb. And I truly believe it can go higher right now, but it's really difficult for me to put him higher because my next guy in RB4, maybe it's a little bit of a homer pick if you know me, but it's just hard to put him over. But Nick Chubb this past year finished RB6, 302 yards on the attempts on the ground, over 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns. and 27 out of 37 targets in the air. And one of my biggest caveats here for Nick Chubb, why I think he's kind of being disrespected in the community, and sometimes or saying he's RB2 or RB3, but no one really drafting him at that value there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've been a lot of mock drafts, a lot of underdog drafts where he's not going as the RB2 or 3 that they're saying in their rankings, and he's going more as the RB6, RB7. In my personal opinion, the ones that I've been in at least. But yeah, Nick Chubb coming into this year, I see a massive step coming into this season. This offense is going to get significantly better with Deshaun Watson. I think more scoring opportunities is going to be on the horizon for Nick Chubb, more goal line opportunities for Nick Chubb, more passing opportunities for Nick Chubb. As much as I love Jerome Ford and I hope he has some sort of breakout season, but if that doesn't happen, it's easy to say Nick Chubb is going to see a lot of opportunity coming into the 2023 season in the air. This was his second career highest season in the air in receptions, and I see him breaking that coming into this year. Once again, if Jerome Ford doesn't really step up, Kareem Hunt no longer on this team, Nick Chubb is easily going to be seeing workload in the air. So he is my RB5. I really want to put him higher, but once again, a homer pick coming up next. And let's go straight into that. My fourth running back on this list, and that is Saquon Barkley. Look, with the holdout and everything, if he is not reporting to training camp, let's just say last week of preseason, that is a massive concern, or second to last week of preseason, that is a massive concern. That we'll have a different conversation. We might have to reevaluate the rankings. But RB5 this past year, 295 attempts on the ground, 1,300 yards, was targeted 76 times on the ground, caught 57 out of those 76 targets, and that's going to continue, in my personal opinion. Yes, they get Darren Waller, but when they open up the offense with Darren Waller, with now Paris Campbell, with Isaiah Hodgins, with Darius Slayton, and all these other options and wide receivers coming back here, I do believe Saquon Barkley can see more opportunity in the backfield. They're not stacking the box anymore as much as they did this past year, knowing that there wasn't any weapons on the outside. And I think with Darren Waller and all these other weapons, they're going to have to put some respect on these other guys' names just a little bit. And Saquon Barkley is going to see less of a stacked box coming into the 2023 season, and more opportunities in the scoring. I think this offense gets better, to be completely honest. It's going to get better. It's a tougher season, and they're going to see more opportunities with Saquon Barkley maybe running the ball in the end zone a little bit more. I mean, obviously 10 touchdowns. I think he can match that again coming into this year. I truly believe so. So Saquon Barkley, my RB4 coming into this year. My RB3 on this list, which I think is being very disrespected in the community, on underdogs, on sleeper, going in the late to second round sometimes, and he is my RB3, and that is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, look, this past year led the league in attempts, over 1,500 yards, finished RB4 with 13 touchdowns. I think that can be even better finished this year, or in that category as well. With DeAndre Hopkins now signing to this team, I think the goal is to continue to run the ball still. Now, without DeAndre Hopkins, okay, we have Treylon Burks, Chika Conquo, we're stacking the box. We know how to cancel it. Even though they did that in the past with A.J. Brown, even though they did that in the past with all these other talented players, Derrick Henry, now with DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best wide receivers he's probably played with, probably outside of Julio and A.J. Brown now, right? They can't be stacking the box, and they cannot leave DeAndre Hopkins not double teamed. It's going to be difficult to see that. I truly believe Derrick Henry can finish as a top 3 running back coming into this year. I know a lot of people are expecting the regression. I think we can say the same thing with Christian McCaffrey. We can say the same thing for Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, and all these other running backs. But until that happens, by the way, we were saying that last year, and then the year before that, and people the year before that saying, well, he got injured. I told you the regression was happening. Not really. I think he's going to be fine this year. Until the regression happens, you got to continue to draft him. You got to continue to ride with Derrick Henry, and I truly believe he can be this guy, my RB3 coming into the 2023 season. And at number 2, I think there's no surprise about this one. That is Austin Eckler. Finished RB1 this past year. I mean, phenomenal season. 204 attempts on the ground, 915 yards, over 120 attempts in the air. Absolutely absurd in a passing perspective. But obviously, I think that might be a little bit skewed coming into this year, because obviously Keenan Allen's on this team now. Mike Williams well, not now, but is back and healthy. Mike Williams is back and healthy. They draft Quentin Johnston. Maybe they want to bring a little bit more of a regression in Austin Eckler's passing opportunity, especially if they were going to trade him earlier in the offseason, and he was really unhappy, but he is staying with this team. I truly believe he can still finish the top 2 running back. There's no surprise here of what's going to happen with Austin Eckler. And at running back 1, once again, no surprise as well. CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Phenomenal season this past year. I mean, finished RB2, 244 attempts, over 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns, and he was on 2 different teams last year. I mean, if you can do that on 2 different teams and still bowl out and finish RB2, obviously he was on a terrible, well, I wouldn't say terrible offense, but a bad offense to a great offense in the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, the sky's the limit with Christian McCaffrey, especially if Trey Lance, in my opinion, is a quarterback, or Brock Purdy. No matter who's a quarterback there, CMC is going to be a huge focus in that game plan coming into the 2023 season. So once again, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson, Joe Mixon, Travis Etienne, Jahmyr Gibbs, J.K. Dobbins, and Najee Harris. My top 15 running backs coming into the 2023 season. Comment down below. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let's have a conversation. And I'm really interested to see what people think about my Jonathan Taylor take. I do believe I'm going to see a lot of regression, but hey, I could be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. And remember, these rankings are fluid. Things could be changing once news and things are going to be coming out. These are my early top 15 running back rankings. So as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.